I'm really excited for today's video because we're going to do the American Classic NFL record prediction where everyone gets the schedule and you go down the schedule going win, 17-0. Don't see how we lose a game. Now, before we get into the record prediction, I do want to remind everyone of Atlanta's schedule for this year, including their preseason games, Dolphins, Ravens, Jags. Second straight preseason game where you're Dolphins, right? They had that last year. So that's how the Atlanta Falcons preseason looks. But for the actual regular season, it'll open up at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers in an Arthur Smith revenge game. Then back-to-back primetime games in Philly on Monday night, home against KC on Sunday night. Then the Saints. They've got 4 primetime games in the first 5 weeks. Bucs Thursday night at home in week 5. Keep in mind, this team did not play a single primetime game last year. Their only standalone game last year, which, by the way, I include as primetime in my head, was the London game. Then Panthers on the road, Seattle at home, at Tampa Bay, get done with the Bucs by week 8. Week 9, the Cowboys come to town. Week 10, it's off to the Big Easy to face the Saints for the first time. Then the second time. Week 11, you got the Broncos on the road, a bye at week 12. Week 13, the Chargers are in town for Thanksgiving. Week 14 is in Minnesota for Kirk Cousins' return to the Vikings. Week 15 at the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Week 16, home against the G-Men. 17 in the nation's capital against the Commanders. And then the year ends at home against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. So predict the Falcons' record. Last year, I had the Falcons going 8-9. People were very upset last year that I did not have them winning more games, when they ended up going 7-10. And I know that this offseason, I'm not batting 1,000 at my predictions. But I will say last year, I came as close as it could get to batting 1,000 for my record prediction. So Davis, who left this very nice comment on last year's record prediction video saying, I don't think, quote, I don't think Ridder will string together wins, so give me more unproven QB Sam Howell. Yes, Davis, I do believe Sam Howell is better than Desmond Ridder. And that showed last year when they lost to the Commanders. Or how about this one? He keeps saying Desmond Ridder is not ready to rack up wins, like he all right with the only good offensive player on the team. We also have 3 good running backs. Sorry, dude. I think quarterback is much more valuable than running back, and it showed last year, despite having good running backs. So yeah, when you look at my record prediction from last year, humble brag, started off 9-0. Not so humble. This is not the result of the games. This is what I predicted, and the result being correct. I got week 10 at Arizona wrong. I had them winning that game, which ended my streak. I got the bye right in week 11. Week 12 had them beating the Saints at home. They did. Week 13 had them losing to the Jets. They ended up winning that game. Week 14 had them beating the Bucs. They lost that game. Had them beat the Colts, or lose to the lose to the Panthers. That was a very unpopular opinion I gave last year on the video. They lost to the Panthers. That got Arthur Smith fired, basically. Then had them beat the Colts and then lose the last 2 games of the year. I got 3 out of 17 games wrong last year. Went 14 for 17. So without further ado, let's see how I do this year. Week 1, I had them taking down the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like Russell Wilson in his first game won't be at peak Russell Wilson level. He got to a slow start with the Broncos back in 2022 with a new team, and I think we'll see a signature Arthur Smith meltdown at home where they're going to be in the red zone in the fourth quarter, a chance to tie the game, and instead of going to their star players, they do some weird play with the backup tight end, and it results in a turnover on 4th and goal, and Atlanta gets the last laugh with Arthur Smith. Week 2 at Philadelphia, Monday night, I've got them losing to the Eagles. Big reason why I have them losing this game isn't so much because the Eagles are a good team and it's on the road. It's because the Eagles in week 1 play on Friday, which means they go into week 2 Monday night with 10 days of rest. In fact, teams that play historically on that Thursday night, which is a little bit different, it's Friday night for the Eagles down in Brazil, but not too far off. Look at the last 4 or 5 years of teams after playing week 1 on Thursday Night Football. Last year, you had the Lions and Chiefs. What did they do the next game? Lions lost, Chiefs won. Bills, Rams the year before, both those teams won. Bucs, Cowboys the year before, both those teams won the next week. The point is, the teams that play on Thursday night week 1 and get some extra rest before week 2 tend to do very well. Week 3, I have them losing to the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I could be very easily convinced to changing this one to a win. In fact, as good as the Chiefs are, and this is not a very bad stat, but it's a little bit surprising, Kansas City in primetime games in the first 6 weeks of the season since Patrick Mahomes became the quarterback in 2018, only 8-5, which I think for the Chiefs is a little surprising because they're the Chiefs, but still, the Chiefs tend to be somewhat vulnerable early in the year in primetime matchups, like last year at home against the Lions. Week 4, I've got them taking down the Saints for the first of their 2 matchups with New Orleans and getting off to a solid 2-for-2 start despite having a really, difficult first few games at Kansas City or at Philadelphia, Chiefs, and the Steelers and Saints are not, gimme games. I mean, 3 of these teams were in the playoffs last year, and the one that wasn't still went 9-8 a season ago. Now, who you got, by the way? Falcons or Saints? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'm taking ATL. Our Saints host here at Chat Sports, Trace Gerard, he talks a lot of smack about Atlanta, and I can't wait for week 4 to get here. Week 5 against the Buccaneers at home on Thursday Night Football. I've got this down as a win as well, putting the Falcons up to 3-2. The Falcons on Thursday Night Football since 2010, they're an even 7-7. So you know what? How about we make that 8-7 with a win against the Buccaneers? Week 6 for a third straight NFC South showdown against the Panthers on the road. I've got that as a win as well. Unfortunately, they come home to play the Seahawks. I've got this one as a loss. I feel like maybe after some of the momentum and high of winning 3 straight NFC South games, they kind of overlooked the Seahawks a little bit, and Seattle surprises the Falcons at home. Week 8 at Tampa Bay, got this one down as a loss. I know I'm doing my job wrong if I don't have them going undefeated, but ultimately I could see them splitting the series with Tampa Bay, and that wouldn't be the worst result for them winning the division last year and going 500 against them the next year. Now, before we get to the rest of my record prediction video here, make sure to get started with our friends over at Fanatics to get your hands on a brand new Kirk Cousins jersey. Go to chatsports.com/Cousins. You don't want to be wearing, not that anyone probably has a Desmond Ridder jersey, but you don't want to be wearing an old jersey. Get a brand new Kirk Cousins jersey today so you can rock it at the next tailgate. Week 9, home against the Cowboys, win. I'm putting my life savings on this game being a win. I have a big feeling that this is going to be the Dallas Cowboys' signature mid-season road loss because the fan base and the team feels like they are superior to everyone else in the National Football League, and they get punked. Kind of like last year. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals on the road. Felt like that was just a bye game for them. They were playing an FCS opponent. They're going to have that same attitude this year, and I can't wait for them to get shit pumped in Atlanta. Week 10 in New Orleans, it's a win. It's a win. It's a season sweep. Maybe it's just a little bit of me trying to speak this into existence, but I could see the Falcons sweeping the New Orleans Saints for the first time since 2016, paving the way to an NFC South championship. Week 11, they go on the road to the Denver Broncos. I've got this one down as a loss. My justification for this loss, not that I really need any, is this just gives me Southern team playing up north in November, not good vibes, right? If it's snowing, they're fucked. That's just a fact right now. In fact, I did some research, not that anyone asked, but some chat stats, if you will. The Broncos at home against dome or just warm weather cities, and I was the judge what was a warm or not warm weather city, against teams at home in November since 2000, Broncos are 12-10. Not that that's actually a very impressive stat, to be honest, for Denver, but I think that could be another win for the Broncos and the Falcons. Just November up in the mountains, that's not where they're made to thrive. Week 12, they finally have their bye week. That sets them up for a Week 13 home game against the Chargers, and this is your patented, the world is falling. every fan base usually has that one game a year, and it's coming out of the bye where you're like, we're home. We got 2 weeks to prepare for the Chargers. That's got to be a win. Oh my God, the season's over. I can't believe we lost that game. That's that game this year. Week 14, it's the Kirk Cousins revenge game in Minnesota against his former team. I mean, Kirk Cousins said this will be emotional for him. There's going to be so many familiar faces there. It's a homecoming for him and his family. And we've seen a lot of really good recent games of quarterbacks against their former team. And it is about 50-50 in terms of who wins, the quarterback or the former team. Deshaun Watson, his first year with the Browns, his first game was against his former team, the Houston Texans. He won that game, not because of Watson's play, though. Baker, when he played the Browns for his first game with the Carolina Panthers, he lost. Russ against the Seahawks, he lost. Brady beat the Patriots. Stafford and Goff played against each other, so one had to win, one had to lose. Stafford got the better of the exchange. Darnold, his first game for the Carolina Panthers was against the New York Jets. He won. Peyton Manning, I went back all the way to Manning because that was kind of the most famous revenge quarterback game of the decade, I would say. Him going up against the Colts. Denver was undefeated at the time, 6-0. They lost. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's schedule breakdown video and record prediction, help us reach 21,700 subscribers. We're 60 subs away, so if you're looking for a go-to Falcons YouTube channel all off-season long, hit the sub button down below. Week 15, after taking down the Vikings, I've got them beating the Raiders on the road, Monday Night Football. And this is when the Falcons kind of graduate from the in the hunt graphic to, and with this win, the Falcons are leading the NFC South. That's that moment right there on Monday Night Football where you watch SVP way past your bedtime because you want to soak that win in. Week 16, home against the Giants, another win. I told you that after the meltdown loss against the Chargers, this locker room would have a players-only meeting, need one of those, and then they string off 3 in a row. However, I have them losing on the road Week 17 against the Commanders. I actually think, familiar face Dan Quinn, he's going to get the things turned around quickly in D.C., I think. So I'll have the Washington Commanders win that game, and it will be kind of a Dan Quinn revenge game, although there's been plenty of those since then. Week 18 against the Panthers at home. I've got this down as a win. The Falcons close out the season going 4-1, and thus going 10-7, winning the NFC South as well, hosting a playoff game, and I don't know who against it would be. I'll just say it would be against NFC West opponent. Give me the Rams. 49ers win the division. The Rams come to town. Falcons-Rams. Falcons win that game. And then Matthew Stafford retires. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my record prediction. I did pretty well last year. Let's see if I can beat last year's 14-3 mark. Hit the sub button down below, though, for more Falcons content all off season long.